Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I'm back. I want to let you know that I'm okay, and having what happened to me the other night, I guess, was a blessing. I shared with you my experiences, and now I'm ready to take the YouTube train by the hand again. Today I came to talk to you about Emmanuel Macron, and I wanted to say to you that Macron is a walking breakdown. He is a victim of pedophilia, and not only is he a victim of pedophilia, but every night he goes and lays down with and beside his molester. And he has been manifesting those symptoms of that, that people who are molested manifest. And I personally was molested, and it takes a long time to realize that, hey, it wasn't just a thing. Someone violated you. And when I think of Macron, who was molested by his teacher when he was 15, this is what I think. I think of a pupil sitting at the lunch table, and the teacher comes by and sits beside him, I don't know, and reaches her hand underneath the table and feels his genitals. And being a young man at the time, he might have gotten turned on and really enjoyed that. But I might start over. But at this point, I think it's hitting in that, every night he has to go lay down beside an older or an old woman, because she is, I believe she's 65 and he's 40. So every night, and there are younger teachers, but this is one of the older 10 years from retirement teachers that molested this kid. And I think some of the things that he says manifest some of his feelings of being out of control. And some of the things that he says and people say about him are indicative of a person who's suffering trauma from being molested in the past, or he's still being molested because he never got away from his molester. They say he has an aloof personal style. He said, I have no friends. Right, and that's what they say. People who are molested, sometimes they have no friends because they have trouble trusting others. He has a burgeoning history of outbursts showing contempt for the working classes. The London Telegraph says a station is where we meet people who succeed and who are nothing. Do you understand that? He says it's a station where we meet people who succeed and who are nothing. And, I'm thinking that he says that people who are nothing, and, his parents were doctors, which is not nothing, but his molester was an heiress to a chocolate factory, a filthy rich individual who molested him. And sometimes, when he calls people nothing, I wonder if he thinks that his family was nothing for doing nothing. For when his teacher, his 40-some-year-old teacher, molested him, had sex with him, did terrible things with him when he was a kid, which, I think is awful. I think it's awful. I think France is awful for condoning it, and I think she should have been thrown in jail. Even if he would have never been president, even if he would have never been an investment banker, the emotional toll which he's showing right now is showing. They say that he's arrogant, disconnected, and authoritarian. Well, Males, sometimes when they're molested, they act out by being the mean, arrogant, disconnected, and authoritarian. They say he overreacts to bad ratings. And another thing is, I very much think that the intellectuals of France know that he was molested, and they know that it was wrong, and they know that he's a walking psychosis, basically. And we have to look at what happened with the media got together to interview him, and they just taunted him and taunted him and taunted him. And I'm pretty sure these people know that they're talking to a sick man who is daily, I'm not even going to say having sex, but daily re-molested and daily forced to face the fact that he was violated physically by a woman when he was a kid. So they say he said, when they were taunting him and saying, you're a citizen of France, he said through gritted teeth, I am the president of the republic. Well, it's France, so you're supposed to, in the United States, they know. They've taught us that you're the president, but he's the president, but he's still a regular citizen, and in 4 to 8 years, he's going back to his life. Macron seems to have problems with that. And, I really think that again, is wrapped up to his molester, who he's still with, saying, I'm a rich woman, I'm a chocolater, some of this and that, and you're that. So he's having problems adapting to the fact that he's a citizen. The former president of France, who he worked with, has some words about him. He says that Macron denies plain evidence with a smile. Well, we all know that you were molested, Macron, when you were 15 by a old woman, which, they call 40-year-old women old. They call me old. I'm in my 40s. And I would never, I wouldn't even sleep with a 23-year-old. And they have tried. I have had people knocking on my door saying, oh, I'm homeless. I'm homeless. And I'm like, well, I have a spare bedroom. But then they try to have sex with me, which is not going to happen, because my rule is that if you're a younger guy, you have to be 28 and above, which is 18 years away from 10. And that's how I think of Macron. When he was being molested, he was 5 years away from 10. He was just a little kid. And the way we grow fluctuates. And we can be, on the spectrum. Some parts of us at 15 are still 10. I have teenagers. I have an 18-year-old. Some parts of her are still 10. Some parts of her are still 5. So, when you're 40, you don't mess with a 15-year-old. That's just sick. So, also, they say, he said, I am the president of the republic. They also say that he says he denies plain evidence with a smile. That's because he denied until he was of age that he had been molested by his teacher. Then he was married her. Thinks reality bends to his will as soon as he expresses it. And this is in the New York Times. They're quoting what a former president of France said about Macron. He thinks reality bends to his will as soon as he expresses it. Well, that's because he's been taught to be a liar by his molester, and molesters do lie. Molesters do lie. And, the way he's lying, I seriously doubt that he was the first person that she molested. She probably, people who are molesters tend to gravitate towards kids. She didn't have a reason to work, but yet and still she took her ass up there to the local high school and started tutoring or teaching drama to teenage boys. And I'm pretty sure, based on who he has developed to be, a liar, arrogant, deny, look you in your face and lie, that he wasn't the first one. And personally, you know, I wouldn't be leaving my 15-year-old teenage boy, or my 12-year-old, 12 and up, 12 to maybe you're 10, alone with her because she's a pedo. Okay, so he thinks reality bends to his will as soon as he expresses it. And I want to say, I want to discuss or tell you what the Australian Institute of Family Studies says are the long-term effects of being molested. Psychiatric disorders when exposed to stress. Well, Macron has been calling people losers, telling people who have careers like a gardener. And I don't know if the United States is like France, but if you're a gardener, they have a formal title for it, horticulturist. Can't say it. You have gone to school to be trained to be that. So if you want to be a gardener, and France is famous for its gardens. So I'm sure that just saying I'm a gardener, he's probably knows how to create beautiful creations. And that's what we think of France as for, is a place where they create great beauty and romance and excitement. So it's not easy just to go be something else. Just like Macron was an investment banker. So, you know, Macron, if you can't find a job as an investment banker, what are you supposed to do? Go get a retrain and be a work in a factory. You know, is that what you're going to tell the people who are trained to be investment bankers? Go get some retraining and work in a factory, because that's basically what you did. They say men are more likely to be re-victimized than women as adults. Well, Macron, you are re-victimized. You're victimized nightly, daily, every time you are with your molester, which she seems to be with you all the time. And you're just a catastrophic person walking who has not dealt with real issues, that you have a psychosis brought on to being molested by an elderly old woman. And, you know, France knew this. France knew that you were molested, and they elected you. They knew that, you know, man, you know, being molested, living with your molester, constantly being attached to her carries great problems. You can never forget the moment she touched your penis. You can never forget the moment she did things to you. You can never forget how it happened, because she is constantly there. You can't even sit there and think about what happened and realize that you have been traumatized, because she is constantly there. So, you know, France, as I said, you knew you ought to be ashamed of yourself for sitting there and letting a young boy be molested by his teacher. She didn't need to be married to him. She needed to be underneath the jail, and she does not need to be with kids. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, as I do this, I'll get smoother and stop the ahs and uhs and everything else that I do. I plan to do another one, and that's why I had to hurry up and do this one, because thoughts are coming up in my mind for another one, which the topic will be the growth of evil and economic disparities. Basically, what I will discuss is that how it seems like people are really buying into evil. I'm a devil worshiper. I'm evil. I'm this, I'm that. And basically, I think what it is a reaction to the economic climate in the country, which in the countries in the world. People have to do alternative things to get jobs. And it's not good for the countries or the world, but they do. And, you know, anyway, thank you for listening. Love you. Bye-bye.